Welcome to our day 6 of Islam studies. Today we're going to take a look at a few other things, and before we dive into our main lesson on basic tenets, the belief of Islam, especially the 5 pillars, I want to talk about one interesting event that is being celebrated by most of the Shia Muslims. But before that, I would want you to actually click the link below to watch the video clip. It's a 5-minute video clip, but there's a slight warning I want to give you, and that is, it's a little graphic. There might be a little bit of blood and blades and knives. So if you feel a little scared and threatened, you can just not watch, but listen to the narration so that you understand the story behind it. You do not have to necessarily watch it, but at least listen to the narration. So let's take a look at what is happening in that video. So this video is about Matam. Matam is a Shia celebration event where they remember the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. Now, who is Imam Hussein? Imam Hussein is the grandson of Prophet Muhammad. So Prophet Muhammad's daughter, Fatima, was married to Ali, and they had 2 sons, Hassan and Hussein. This is the story of Hussein, who was murdered in Karbala, Iraq. And so this is where the Shia Muslims remember the martyrdom, where they are so sad, remember the sacrifice of Imam Hussein. Now, usually during this ceremony, the men would take up knives and blades and sharp objects and cut themselves to bleed, to remember the pain and the suffering that Imam Hussein went through. So instead of just only thinking about the event and feeling sorry for Imam Hussein, the Shia Muslim men take up blades and spill blood. Why do they do that? They believe it's like a sacrifice on their part, trying to feel what Imam Hussein must have felt, the pain, the sorrow, and the humiliation. How can you call this a sacrifice? What did they sacrifice? Blood? Well, yes, they did not sacrifice their life as Imam Hussein did, but they sacrificed their blood and tried to feel the pain and humiliation that Hussein's family must have felt. Now, most Shia Muslims don't do this anymore because it is more meaningful when we realize the action of Hussein in our heart and in our mind. And so a lot of Shia Muslims today stop doing this martyrdom, that is, cutting themselves, bleeding in the public square until the Maghrib Azan is played, and that's when they stop. Now in the video you will hear they say that there is this miracle of Matam. What is the miracle of Matam? Well, as you see in the video, it's a little graphic, as I told you. It's a lot of cutting. Some of them, they take big knives and they turn the knives on themselves. They cut chunks of their skin, their flesh, sometimes from their forehead or even from their backside or even from their chest. And they bleed a lot. And these men do this every year. The wounds heal up, and then they do it again. And so what is the miracle? The miracle is that no matter how much they hurt themselves, cut themselves, bleed the whole day, no one dies. And that is so-called the miracle of Matam. But again, the question is, for what? Why would you do this? Who does this benefit? And yes, Shia Muslims do realize that today, and therefore it is now banned in many Muslim countries. They do not do this anymore. Now again, you have to know that this celebration or ceremony or event is only remembered by the Shia Muslims, and they are just 15% of the Muslim population. The rest, 85% of the Muslims around the world, do not actually know this, because they are the Sunni Muslim, especially the Muslims who are in Thailand, do not know this. They have not even heard of it until they watch the video today. This is a Shia ritual. Now moving on to the main belief of the Islam. If you have read through the document, I'm asking you, list 5 pillars of Islam. Write in both English and the Arabic word for those pillars. The first and the most important one is called the profession of faith, meaning creed or core belief of Islam. And they call that in Arabic Shahada. Shahada is simply a phrase where every Muslim must say it in order to be a Muslim. And that is, they must acknowledge that there is only one God, and that is Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. That is the creed. That is the Shahada. Every Muslim must confess that. If they don't do it, they are not considered to be a Muslim. There is no excuse in saying this. No one can say, oh, well, I have a problem, I can't say it. No, if you can't say it, you're not a Muslim. You have to believe this, you have to confess this, then only you are a Muslim. And that is the Shahada. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Number 2, prayers, which is Salat in Arabic, the 5 daily prayers. They have 5 prayers, and those are called the Salat. Next, the tax, the zakat. It's an obligatory tax. Every Muslim is obliged to pay this tax. It's called zakat. This helps the government in many different areas, services. Next, number 4, fasting, which in Arab is called Sa'om. It's the fasting during the entire month of Ramadan. They only fast during the day, not the entire day, during the day hours, meaning from before the sun rises until the sun sets. They will not eat, drink, or go to war, or even have sex. During this time, nothing. They do nothing, all right? So this is called fasting. But they break the fasting right in the evening when the Maghrib Ajan is prayed, and that's when they can eat all they want all the way until night, until early next morning. Again, they will stop and they will fast for the daylight hours. And finally, pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is Hajj. In Arabic, it's Hajj. Every Muslim, at least once in their lifetime, they must go and visit Mecca. At least once in their lifetime. So these are the 5 pillars. And remember, all the 4 may have an excuse. Like the prayers, you may skip a prayer because you were traveling. You may not pay the tax because you do not have enough earning. You may not fast because you were sick and in the hospital. You may not be able to go to the Hajj or pilgrimage. You could be excused, but there is one that can never be excused, and that is the profession of faith. How is the Shahada different between Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims? The Sunni Muslim, which is the 85% of the Muslims around the world, they say there is no God but God, and Muhammad is his prophet or messenger. They must accept this Shahada. They cannot call themselves a Muslim unless they confess the Shahada. They confess 2 things here. Number 1, that there is only one God, not many gods. Polytheism is not accepted in Islam. All right, even Trinity is not accepted in Islam. So there's just one God, and he is Allah. And number 2, Prophet Muhammad is his messenger. Yes, he sent many messengers in the past. You find them in the Bible. Prophet Muhammad is the latest and the last prophet. Every Muslim must acknowledge that. Now, how is that different from a Shia Muslim? A Shia Muslim says there is no God but God, Muhammad is the messenger of God, and Ali is the protector of Allah. So they add the last phrase there, and Ali is the protector of Allah. And that's where the difference is. All right, now let's take a look at the prayers that we just now talked about in our 5 pillars. 5 prayers. List in order the 5 prayers in Arabic and their time in reference to the sun. Okay? They do not follow the watch time, because as season changes, the time can change. And so the best way to tell the time is in relation to the sun, not according to your clock. All right, so let's take a look at the 5 prayers. Prayer number 1 is called Fajr. All right, it happens before sunrise, very, very early. In Thailand, right now, it's around like 5 in the morning. 5 in the morning, if you wake up, you hear the azan. Number 2, Zuhri. Number 2 is just afternoon, right at noontime, right in the afternoon. And number 3, Asri. Asri is the later in the afternoon, the prayer that is done later in the afternoon. It's like around 3:30, 3:40 during that time. Then prayer number 4, Maghrib. Maghrib immediately after sunset. As soon as the sun dips into the horizon and it's gone, that's when they do their evening prayer. And finally, Isha, the 5th prayer, is after dark, when it is totally dark. You see, Maghrib prayer, the 4th prayer, is done right after sunset, when the sun is not there, but it's still bright outside. You can still walk around, jog, play games on the street, You can do all kinds of sorts of activities outdoor, because there's still bright light, even though there is no sun. But Isha is when finally it is totally dark and you can't see anything anymore. You need a flashlight to move around. That's the last prayer. Usually this was the bedtime prayer. All right, so that is our short, quick lesson for today. So if you're done, please turn in before the period is over. Send only Google Doc. I do not accept any PDF. Please use the Google Doc. Write directly into the document itself. And make sure to mark your answers in red color font, so it's easier for me to see answers right away and grade them. If you have any questions, remember, you can always write email to me or line me, and I will get back to you. Have a nice day and see you on our next video.